Greetings from the set of Metro and More at Metropolitan Community College, serving more than 50,000 students with over 120 programs at our 8 locations in the daytime, evening, weekends, or online.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Metro and More. I'm Ingrid Berlin, Dean of Enrollment Services right here at Metropolitan Community College. MCC assists students to finance their education, and sometimes navigating that financial aid is not so easy. Today we're here to discuss some ways to make it easier. With me today is Wilma Jellum. She is the Director of Financial Aid, also right here at MCC. Welcome, Wilma.
Thank you.
I guess to start out, we'll just have you tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I've been at Metro for 7 years, and I've been doing financial aid for almost 30 years, so I've been around a little bit. I've always enjoy helping students. That's why I'm in financial aid. Nobody goes to college to be a financial aid administrator. It's just something you happen in, but you stay because you see the value and the importance of being able to help students to fund their education, and that's very easy at Metro because we're so affordable. It's an easy job for me to be able to find them. If they go to class and they focus on their education, we can find everybody money.
That's good to know, and it is always nice to be helping the students. I have been here at Metro since 2009. I've been in higher education as well for about 28 years, and even had a stint in financial aid. So I sometimes know enough to be dangerous. So I'm going to leave the expertise to you today.
Okay.
So Wilma, let's talk a little bit about the financial aid services at Metro.
Well, at Metro, we have financial aid representatives at all of the main campuses, and we do provide services also at all of the centers. So we have everyone is available and have staff available to explain students both the beginning and all the way through the process. And at Metro, we do not have a separate financial aid application. We only require that the free application for federal student aid, which is the FAFSA that everyone talks about, that's all we require, and they just need to include our school code, which happens to be 004432. When they add that school code, we automatically get students' information, and that comes directly into our computer system and allows us then to assess if a student needs to submit additional documents. If the government's asking for additional information, students will talk about verification, and they have to complete verification before we can issue an award. But this year we have expanded those services. They can call us, they can email us, they can fax us. We have lots of ways for them to give us their information so that we can get them processed and awarded as soon as possible. So it's not as difficult as students believe that it is, and we always encourage them to come in and talk to us or call us if they have any questions. We do have a direct line that's 402-457-2330 is the financial aid direct line, and so they can get help on the phone too. So we really provide access to financial aid staff for questions.
That's great. Do we have a lot of students who use financial aid at Metro?
Yeah, I would say about 2/3 of all of the students are eligible for grants and scholarships, and all of them can always apply for student loans. Because we're so affordable and low cost, actually students who get grant funding, predominantly the federal Pell Grant program, they can actually pay for their education without needing to take out student loans. But the loans are available should they need to tap that as a resource in order to help them with living expenses. Then those are available and they can apply for those. So we do have a wide variety of resources. We also have our foundation scholarships, so there's lots of different scholarships students can also apply for, even if they don't qualify for Pell Grants. They're the federal grant program. So it's really, there's like I said, we can fund pretty much everybody. If they're doing their part in the classroom, we can do their part for them on the backside in providing funding sources.
That's good to know, because I think of many students don't feel like they'll qualify.
Right. And that's one of the cool things we tell students, you know, it is a free application. Everyone should fill out a FAFSA, even if you don't think you'll qualify, because I've seen over the years many families who don't apply, and then their circumstances change, and then they decide they need to apply because they think will have to take out a student loan. And what happens is they apply and they find out they actually qualify for federal grants. It's not a simple, I make X amount of dollars and I don't qualify. It's the government. It's a very complex formula, and it looks at both your income, the sources of the income, the size of your household. I mean, there's lots of variables that go into calculating the expected family contribution, which is the index that ties to the Pell Grant eligibility. So it's really not so simple, but it's a free application. Fill it out. It's much easier these days because the government has allowed they spent years working on having an IRS data retrieval tool that's in the FAFSA. So now you don't have to have your taxes. If your taxes are done and you do them early, a lot of times the data retrieval tool is available for families, so you don't have to guess what amount to put where. You can use the tool. It'll automatically pull in your IRS data into your FAFSA. And that makes it so much easier for families to complete the FAFSA. So there's just a lot of new advancements. Technology is wonderful, and we embrace all of the technology advances, and that's part of why we're here today, is to talk about some of the new tools and the information that's available to students through the financial aid self-service.
So let's shift it to that. So they've applied for financial aid. We've received it at MCC, and we offer something that is not only newer to us, it's really newer technology many schools aren't able to offer their students. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. We're part, we have a computer system that, you know, there are others that have that system, but we're on the leading edge of this new technology. It was just released this year, and we implemented it. We went live in the fall, and then the last of the enhancements, which now provides the most important piece to our students, we just actually launched just a month ago. Okay, and so it's very, very new. We're on the leading edge, and what it does is the financial aid self-service is in our enterprise system, allows students to see where they are in the process. It gives them the opportunity to see, do I have missing information? Okay, did you receive my FAFSA? They can see if they have a FAFSA there, and if additional information is requested, they can see that on their actual screen, and it'll show if it's missing, it'll show that it's needed and that an action is required, and if they've turned something in, it'll turn green and say that it's completed.
Okay.
So students can follow it very easily.
We actually have a shot of the self-service page on there. Could you please explain a little bit about what everyone's seeing?
What it says is, now this one has where someone's actually been awarded, but if you weren't awarded, you would be able to see that there's additional documents needed. But on the checklist, see, this is completed. This student turned in all of their information right away, so they were able to be awarded. And up at the top, you can see your financial aid package is now ready. So you would see that on the front page when you've completed the process. And then over on the right side, it tells you what the average is for all students that Metro awards aid to. And so it kind of gives you a breakdown that that's the average amount, and the total that is listed there is the total that is the cost of attendance, the average cost of attendance. And the cost of attendance includes both tuition, fees, books, room and board, you know, your housing allowances, and transportation and personal expense. So it's not just your direct costs. The direct costs would be your tuition, your fees, and your books. So this student, you know, responded right away, did all their stuff, got an award, and they're able to watch the progress, because this is real time. So if I were to go in on this student on their actual award screen, we have a shot of the actual award. They have a Board of Governors tuition grant. That's what BGTG stands for. And it shows that they have, that's a scholarship, and it shows how much they get for each quarter. But if we were to get a notice that they got an additional scholarship, say from the foundation, we would add that, and as soon as we add that, it would populate immediately onto the student's record. So if they went into their account and they looked and they saw they had BGTG, and then we went in and put on an additional scholarship, they could turn right around and go back in, and that would show up. It's so that instant.
That's a reason to be monitoring. So
Yes.
additional funds may be applied, or there could be something outstanding. They can check in regularly and be in real time.
Right. They can see the progress of their record and their account and know where they are in the process. And that's what makes it so cool for our students, because in the past, you had to call us, you had to email us, you had to do, come in person, where am I at? Now you can see your progress. You can see when we receive your record originally from the government. You can see if we need additional information. And then you may have like all green marks now, but let's say we are reviewing your file and something comes up that conflicts with other information we have. And so we have to have you put something else, turn something else in order for us to resolve your file. Yeah, it happens more often than not. And so what we would do is we would add something. So that's why students need to, when they see all the green checks, don't just assume you're totally done until you get that award. When it says, you have an award, then you have completed it. So you still want to check, because we may add something that the government requires us to ask you for, dependent on different variables. And it is funny, we can talk in general, but really in financial aid world, every single file is unique. There may be some commonalities throughout it, but everyone's unique, and so we have to review all of those files and take a look at it and then award them appropriately once they've completed all of their paperwork and we are able to allow it. But the other cool thing that we like about self-service is we have never been able to eliminate 100% paper. We love the trees. Okay, we went to a paperless system several years ago. We started working towards that, but when we have student loans still had to have paper. This new self-service eliminates the paper, because students can go into their award. If they want to take out a loan, they just simply need to accept it, and then they put in either the amount that's listed. They can type in that's what they want to borrow, what their eligibility is, or if they want to borrow less, because we do encourage students to borrow what you need, not necessarily what you want, okay? It's you really want to, keep your loan debt as low as possible. And then you just go in, you do that, and then it gives you the link so that you can, if you haven't already taken out a loan previously, it'll take you right to, you hit the link, it takes you to the government website to complete your master promissory note electronically and to complete your entrance counseling electronically. They automatically send us the notification when you've completed those steps. So now we finally have a totally paperless process for students, which is good for our resident students that come here and go to class, but it's even cooler because online students don't ever have to come into our office, and they can get through that whole process. And that's just really a critical element of the self-service process.
So how do we make sure students know where to go and are able to access the student services?
Well, under the self-service, yeah,
sorry.
That's okay. Under the self-service, well, student services also has tabs. In the self-service, it's really a suite of services. Financial aid was the last of those, and it's a suite of services. You can view your academic status. It will tell you what your program of study is, so you can verify that you are listed as the right program of study. It'll tell you, you can check it'll say my program, and then it has my progress. so students can actually monitor their progression of their coursework towards completion of their academic program. And I mean, and it's actually like a green bar, so you can see what percentage you have completed. Then there's also the student financial services is the student accounting. It's kind of like they're the ones that bill the students and we're the ones that pay for the students. So they have information on there. If you have, for example, if your employer provides tuition assistance, you can go out and you can print out your statement of your tuition charges, and that it prints out nice for you to be able to turn into your employer. And so again, that's another tool that's out there. You can also look at all the individual charges. You know, if you're being charged the correct rate, and it gives you your balances. If you have a balance from a previous quarter, you know, you'll be able to see that, and you'll want to take care of that so that you can continue on with your registrations. The other thing, there's also information in there for other services. So I just encourage students to go out and explore. Mm-hmm. These are all new tools. They're new to the college.
It sounds like.
Yeah, they're all connected. And it's just a wealth of information. And even on the financial aid self-service side, we have, when we pull in the results of your FAFSA, is called your student aid report. Well, student aid reports provide an aggregate information that comes from the federal government, and what it includes is if you've gone to any other institution and you took out student loans, it will list loans you previously took out, so you can keep track of what your total loan indebtedness is. And that's such an important tool for students, so you know where you are at any given time, because it'll show if you went somewhere else how much you borrowed there, and then it'll show, you know, one or more schools wherever you went, and then it'll give you a total before you do anything with Metro. You know, so you can kind of keep track. And then we encourage students, there is absolutely no reason for a student to ever default on a student loan. The government makes it so easy. They allow a stepped up process for payments. You can consolidate all of your loans into a single one. They have what's called income contingent repayment plans. So they aren't allowed to take more than a certain percentage of your pay has to be available for payments. And so you get lower payments when you first go out and start a job. You get lower payments, so it makes it easy for you to repay your student loans, because you don't want to default.
So a couple of points there. I know that's been a very important thing. MCC has been keeping the debt down for students. In fact, it's one of the lowest of any college, I believe.
Yeah, we're able to keep our default rate down. We do what's called grace counseling. We contract with a company, and what they do is they call students when a student graduates or leaves, has to stop out at Metro, and they're not enrolled at least half time. You get a 6-month grace period when you first do that. So hopefully they're all graduating. So when they graduate, there's 6 months before you go into repayment. And so during that 6-month period, we have a company that makes calls on behalf of Metro to remind students of their requirement to repay. And then they get information from us about how much you borrowed, and then they will talk to you about your options to help you transition to repayment. And we just started that service about a year ago, and we've already seen an additional reduction in our default rate of 1.3% lower than the previous year. That's huge in the financial aid world.
Yeah,
that's a
outstanding.
big reduction.
So in addition to the self-serve, we're also providing other services where we're actually reaching out to students. Even some so new as, I believe, text, and some reminders are coming out by emails, text, notifications, different ways we're looking to serve the students.
Absolutely. We have a lot of things with our financial aid students. We allow them to charge books during published periods right before a quarter starts and up into the census of each quarter. And census date is really a critical time. Students need to pay attention to those dates. It's in their self-service. It lists it. It's called Financial Aid Important Dates. And we list when the quarter starts. We list when the authorizations or the charge privileges are open for students, because it's usually a week before classes start, and it goes up to census. Census is kind of like the dividing line, because if you for any reason need to change or cancel portion of your registration prior to census, it's 100% refund. After census,
Important
it's
to know.
100%
Yeah.
charge.
Yes.
And that's a big change. That just started this year, because it gives students a bigger window of opportunity. Last minute things happen, and maybe you were going to be full-time, but you can't be full-time, but you still want to go, part-time. You can cancel that extra class right before census, and you
No
won't get
penalty.
charged, and there's no penalty.
Okay.
And that's something too. Our financial aid is awarded based on full-time. And so students, when they see that amount, they need to know that's based on a minimum of 12 credits. If you take less than 12 credits, then the amounts prorate. And again, depending on your expected family contribution, that EFC, and that's published for the students on their record, based on the EFC, you may be able to get part-time payments, but again, it's linked to the EFC. So if you are a higher EFC, you still get some Pell Grant, but it may not pay like 3/4 time or half time. It may only pay full time. So if you are thinking about that, you can always call our office. All of our staff has a Pell Grant chart. And if you're not going to be full time, they can tell you what you would be eligible for, or if your eligibility would extend to part-time eligibility. And so that's something, again, it's tough for students to understand that those go hand in hand. The government wants you to do well, and they want to know, your progress, and they're going to pay you based on that. Right. Which brings us to the other part, which is satisfactory progress. That's something that's very difficult for students. There's 3 standards, and now that's available in self-service also. And we have a slide that shows the self-service tab for satisfactory progress. It's in the financial aid, and it'll tell you what we show as your approved program of study, what your current status is, and it gives you your numbers. Those numbers correlate with the 3 different standards. You have to have at least a 67% completion rate, and you have to have a minimum of a 2.0, which is also required to graduate. Now, if you're early in your program, it can be as low as a 1.0, like if you're in your first quarter or your second quarter. There is a chart that shows the scale that's in the catalog that shows that progression, but for most people it is 2.0. And then, and in addition, you can't ever exceed the 150% rule. And what that means is it's 150% of your program length. So whether you're in a certificate or a degree, most degrees, for example, are like 96 credits. So if you were at 96 credit program, you can only take up to 144 credits to earn the 96 you need to graduate. So they're all tied together. This student, their maximum program length would be 149.25, and they've attempted 35, and they've actually earned 35. So the student's doing really well, and they have a GPA of 3.33. So their actual pace is 100%. But the minimum you have to have is 67, and 67 is not 66.66 rounded. If it's 66.66, it's not 67. That's one area the government doesn't round. Right. So, but it's important to watch that. We run that process every single quarter. You will get a notice, and we send texts to students to let them know what their status is, because that could impact their ability to charge their books. And also, we also text students when they're available to purchase books. We send out reminders to the financial aid students. So those are all, technology is so wonderful. We have so many ways to communicate with students. We just need them to pay attention to all those communications.
And they can actually order their books online as well. I know you mentioned the bookstore a couple of times.
We just actually did an update this quarter, spring quarter, where the bookstore, we've worked on this for a number of years, and now you can actually, whether you're a resident student or an online student, there is a link that says for financial aid students, you can go set up an account and you can charge your books just like you would if you were in person, and you can tell them where you're going to pick them up. So they will have your books pulled and ready for you to pick up at any campus location, and that includes the centers that don't have bookstores. So you can specify where you want your books to be, and they will have them ready for you, or you can have them shipped to your house. If you live out, if you're an online student, they can go in, use their financial aid, have them shipped to their house. So it's another really cool tool that we were able to work with the bookstore to have that, and that has just been phenomenal.
So we are really doing about everything you can do to simplify and make convenient.
Yep.
We may never make it fun, but we're
true.
doing the most we can to make it a good experience for students and not to shy away from applying for financial aid.
That's
Lots
right.
of tools in place.
Absolutely.
Are there any other things, Wilma, you'd like to mention that would be helpful to students when looking to finance their education?
They just
As we
need to
get ready to wrap up here.
They just need to, one, do the FAFSA. If you need help or you don't understand it, we can help you. We receive over 20,000 FAFSAs a year. And there's a lot of students who are eligible for funds and they never register. So we encourage students to not only file a FAFSA, but come to the college or apply. You can apply online, for classes, and that allow you to be able to get information and see what works for you, because the jobs are out there. We have the education that qualifies you for those jobs that are coming down the road.
And there's very likely money there to help you do
Absolutely.
that and to help you complete. So the goal is to complete your educational goal, get out there and become a very productive person in society and add to our workforce, which we know there are thousands of jobs available and coming up.
And I absolutely tell students, if you come and you take classes and you focus on your education, we can help you pay for that so you don't have to worry about focusing on the money side. It's that easy. Don't make it more complicated than it is.
Well, thank you. Do you want to mention that phone number one more time if they have a question on financial aid?
On financial aid, it's 402-457-2330, and that's whether you're a current student or you're a returning student or you're a brand new potential student. You can call and ask us for help anytime. We're always here Monday through Friday.
And there's also additional information on the
Online.
mccneb.edu website. Well, thank you, Wilma. Thanks for joining us today and letting us know more about financial aid and services we offer that may only be available at Metro.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
And from MCC's Fort Omaha campus, thank you for joining this edition of Metro and More.
If you have comments or questions about the program, please email us at metrovision@mccneb.edu. Thanks for watching.
This has been a MetroVision production produced by Metropolitan Community College.